Unmuted.
Perfect. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the ceremony for the Warden's election. My name is Tyler Sager, and I'm the clerk/manager of legislative services for the County of Perth. Until County Council has elected a new warden, I will be acting as the chair for this meeting. I would like to now call the meeting to order. So we're going to move into a moment of reflection. If you're able, please stand and join me for a moment of reflection. Perfect. So from amongst these individuals, council elects one of its members annually to serve as their warden. The warden serves as the head of council and the chief executive officer for the County of Perth, and has a specific legislative procedural duties and responsibilities to fulfill within that role as defined in Section 225 of the Municipal Act 2001 RSO. With such responsibilities, the head of council has a prominent and highly public profile. The citizens that we serve have high and sometimes varied expectations for their head of council. Part of the role of the warden is to find a way to balance these expectations while also being mindful that decisions of the municipality are made by council as a whole. Unlike previous years, the current situation does not permit a reception being held immediately following the election. We appreciate everyone joining us today online via our YouTube channel. After a brief recess, we'll proceed with the regular council meeting. So at this time, we're going to move into greetings from invited guests. So I'd like to ask that MP John Nader be added in and provide greetings.
Good morning, and thank you, Tyler, for inviting me, and thank you, Warden and Council, for the privilege of bringing some brief greetings this morning on behalf of the Parliament of Canada. It's certainly a pleasure, and it's one of the years I'm actually able to join with you. Typically, I am in Ottawa during this week of the inaugural meeting, so it is nice to be able to join you, albeit virtually, but nonetheless join you for your inaugural meeting and election of the Warden. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Warden Aitchison on his year of service as Warden. I suspect that back in December of 2019, when you were first named to this important position, I doubt you, like all of us, envisioned the year that we would have ahead in 2020. But certainly your leadership, your ability to bring council together during this important time has certainly been important. And I understand that you will be allowing your name to stand for a second year as a Warden of Perth County. So I certainly wish you well in the year ahead as well, and to all of council as well in terms of the important work that's ahead of you. Certainly this pandemic is something that no one expected, but it's nonetheless something we have to deal with. And looking ahead, 2021 will certainly have its own challenges. It is unlikely that we will see an immediate end to the restrictions, the healthcare or public health restrictions that are currently in effect. So we expect we'll be living with a lot of this for some time to come. I will very briefly touch on, I was lucky enough to overhear a bit of the conversation before the meeting between Councillor Ait and Councillor Herlick about high-speed internet and rural broadband, citing some of the challenges that happened during the snow day earlier this week when everyone's online learning. And I know that Perth County is a member of the SWIFT initiative, which I think is an exceptionally important initiative and one I strongly support. Unfortunately, in the Connect to Innovate program, which was supposed to help rural communities, none of that money went to Southwestern Ontario. It all went to other regions of the country, despite the fact that Southwestern Ontario accounts for about 10% of the population of Canada and 10% of the underused or underserviced rural broadband areas. So certainly something I'll be pushing heavily for the investment in SWIFT, as well as investment in our local ISPs like Quadro, like Mornington, like Whiteman, so they can connect the last mile. I also recently had the privilege of meeting with SpaceX. It's a company that's promoting a program, I think Councillor Herlick cited it, called Starlink, which is now in its beta testing phase here in Canada, and it's showing speeds of up to 100 megabytes per second, which is double the speed of what the CRTC regulates as a minimum standard. So certainly an exciting time, and I know many people in our local community have already signed up to be in the beta testing program, and then I'm excited to see when that happens. Unlike wireless service, you only need a line of sight to the sky for this program, so it's certainly a different way of doing it, and it's very exciting going forward. But I've taken more time than I think I was allocated at this point, but I do want to say congratulations, Warden Aitchison, to all of Council. Best wishes for the year ahead, and since we're now in December, Merry Christmas as well, and all the best for 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MP Nader. At this time, I'd like to call MPP Randy Pettipies to bring greetings as well.
Sorry, Elizabeth. It's been right next to it. There he is. Oh, there he is. Sorry about that. Yeah, he's still muted. He's still talking, but he's muted.
MPP Pettipies, you are currently muted.
There he is. This isn't Monday, is it? Sorry about that. You have a little different system here than what I'm used to, so I had a little difficulty getting on the call this morning. But anyways, I want to good morning and thanks for the invitation to be here. I'm honored to bring greetings from my basement this morning. As County Council prepares for a new season, I want to recognize all members of Council and your dedicated staff. I continue to enjoy working with all of you, and I want to pay tribute to Warden Jim Aitchison for his service as Warden and, as I understand, his continued service as Warden. He should be proud of his service, and we thank him for representing us. I want to continue to do everything I can to advance the county's issues with the provincial government. I rely not only on the advice of the Warden, but on the advice of all county councillors and how to best serve our mutual constituents. So on behalf of the province of Ontario, congratulations to Warden Aitchison, and again, thank you and best wishes for the holiday season. As MP Nader stated, it's getting close to Christmas. This has been, and you all know that, a year that we all would like to forget, but we will not forget the lessons learned from it. It's been the province has I think done a pretty good job on managing what we have faced this year, and it continues to get to be more difficult at times. We've been fortunate in rural ridings that we haven't had the effect of the COVID-19 as much as they have in the city, so we're very fortunate that way. Public health has done a fantastic job, and so I do appreciate their work too. This is not going to end soon. I wish it would. It's going to be difficult over the holiday seasons, but I know that the people in this riding will adapt and will do as best they can. So thank you so much for your work and your dedication to your positions. And we'll get through this crisis and certainly learn from it for future health issues and pandemics. Hopefully they never come again. So thank you so much for having me here this morning. And I will end my remarks there. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP Pettipies. I'm going to now call on Mayor Dan Matheson, the mayor of the city of Stratford, to bring greetings as well.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to be here on behalf of the city of Stratford and the members of Stratford City Council to not only thank Warden Jim Aitchison for his outstanding year, as warden. He's had many challenges, and I know that he and Perth County Council have risen to the occasion. And they've been great partners, not only in public health, but in economic recovery and service delivery over the last year. As well, I want to thank the county staff. I know that they have a very strong and positive working relationship with the City of Stratford staff. And collectively, I think we've done a lot of good things together. Just November 24th, when we launched the Perth County Connect bus service, I think was a tribute to years of dedicated work on behalf of all the elected and staff of the two municipalities. And I look forward to that continuing. Warden Aitchison, I understand that you are the only person on the ballot this morning. Congratulations. An acclamation is always a ringing endorsement of good work and dedication. And it's nice that your county council have decided to, of course, support you for a second term. So all the best to you and to all our friends at the county council. Best wishes for continued good health during now and in the pandemic. And a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone as they celebrate the season in a very different form. And we look forward to a better 2021 for our residents and, of course, our region. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Mayor Matheson. I'd like to call Mayor Strathy, the mayor of the town of St. Mary's, to also bring greetings.
Good morning. Sorry, I tried to get set up there. It's my honor to bring greetings on behalf of the town of St. Mary's. First of all, I'd like to thank Warden Aitchison and Deputy Warden Eggets for their help this year and their cooperation, as well all of council for their leadership and working collaboratively on projects such as the transportation project. We really appreciate it. Now more than ever, it's important that we work together. I understand today's a very special day. I understand it's one of the first times that Warden Aitchison actually wore in pants to a Zoom meeting, actually. So we all want to be thankful for that as well. I just wanted to say a special thank you to Warden Jim in all seriousness for stepping up. This is difficult times for all of us, and we know it means more than him testing his marriage vows and standing for warden, because we know it's very demanding. We are very appreciative of everything he's done. And Jim, I know, is quite passionate about economic development regionally. He also has done a lot of work and very passionate about the mobility bus here in St. Mary's and serving the areas as well. So I know that he will continue to do a good job as warden, and we are thankful for his ability to lead and for the cooperation that we receive. Thank you very much. Good luck to all of council, and thank you for your cooperation this year. Merry Christmas and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Strathy. So moving on in the agenda, we're going to be going to the introduction of the past wardens. So I'm going to call on Councillor McKenzie, who's with us today, to introduce the past wardens on behalf of the Past Wardens Association. We're also going to be putting up a couple slides showing the past wardens over the years.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. I am here on behalf of the chair of the Past Wardens Association, Bert Dorsenbosch. So it's indeed an honor to be here and make recognition to all the previous wardens that have been through this great organization. So I'm going to do it in reverse. I'm going to start, and I see as the started at the top and going down. Would you like me? Okay. So what I have is in 1982, Elsie Cargus was warden from Listowel. In 1987, Jim Spence was warden, and he was from the Mitchell, but he's now from Listowel. In 1988, Amos Gerber was warden from Southeast Hope. And in 1991, Bert Dorsenbosch was warden from the township of Fullerton. In 1992, Vince Judge was the warden, and he is from Listowel, and he was also warden again in 2001 and 2013. In 1993, Robert McTavish was warden from Northeast Hope. And in 1995, a chap by the name of Walter McKenzie was warden, and then warden again in 2018 and 2019. In 1996, John Van Bakel from Logan Township. In 1998, 99, and 2000, Dave Shear from Milverton was warden. In 2003, Annabelle Thompson from Perth South was the warden. 2004, it was Ian Forrest. 2006 was Barb McLean. 2007 and 2008 was Ron McKay. And in 2009, 2010, and 2011, it was Julie Behrens. In 2014, it was, and 2014 and 15, it was Bob Wilhelm from Perth South. And in 2016, 2017, Meredith Snyder was the warden from North Perth. And last year, of course, the warden in 2020 was James Anderson. So those are the past wardens. Aitchison. What did I say?
Anderson.
Did I say Anderson? Sorry, Jim. Well, we have a Jim Anderson in the neighborhood, so sorry. James Aitchison.
Thank you, Councilor McKenzie, for introducing us to the past wardens who may be in attendance on our YouTube. So we're going to move to the candidate's declaration of intent. So ladies and gentlemen, the past practice in Perth County is that for those who intend to seek the position of warden, they shall declare their intention at the county council meeting in November. Accordingly, members of council were polled at the November 5th, 2020 regular meeting, and James Aitchison has declared his intention to seek the position of warden. Understanding that there is only one candidate, I will move forward to the declaration of the warden at this time. In accordance with the County of Perth procedure bylaw, I declare James Aitchison as the warden of the County of Perth for the year 2020 and 2021. And the installation of the warden and the declaration of office, I will now hand the floor over to Warden Aitchison to give the declaration of office.
Thank you, Tyler. Morning, everyone. Anyway, I'll just get this done and we'll get through the formalities and then we can move on. But anyway, I, James Aitchison, have been elected to the office of warden in the county of Perth. Do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true, and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Thank you. We'll now move into the election of the deputy warden. So same process, those who intended to seek the position of deputy warden declare their intention at a county council meeting in November. Accordingly, the members of council were polled at the November 5th, 2020 regular meeting. Rhonda Agats has declared her intention to seek the position of deputy warden. And understanding that there is only one candidate, I will move forward with the declaration of deputy warden. So in accordance with the County of Perth procedure bylaw, I declare Councillor Rhonda Agats as the deputy warden of the County of Perth for the year 2020 to 2021. We'll move forward with the installation of the deputy warden and the declaration of office. And I hand the floor over to you, Councillor Agats.
Thank you. I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise, excuse me, of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowingly that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2020-2021 Warden James Aitchison and Deputy Warden Rhonda Agats.
Congratulations.
Moving forward in the agenda, I would ask that past Warden Walter McKenzie help and assist with the presentation of the gavel and chain of office at this time, if you could.
Okay, I know people on Zoom aren't going to be able to see this, but I am sliding the gavel with my pen and pushing it over to Jim.
Thanks, Walter.
I also have the gavel here, or the chain of office here. If you want to take it right out of the box, I can put that back over on the
There we
counter.
go.
There
That
you
might be
go.
the better way to do it.
So I would just like to make a comment about the 2021 warden. We needed a warden that had experience with COVID-19, and Jim just seemed to fit the bill from all that list of past wardens that I read.
Thank you for that. So Warden Aitchison, if you wish to give remarks, please do so at this time, and then we'll move into an adjournment after concluded.
Okay, well, thanks. Morning, everyone. It's nice to be able to do this for another year, I think. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. When I stuck my name into this last year, I truly never expected what we would experience in the past year, 2020. It has been a challenge. It's been overwhelming at times almost. It's been probably the most time demanding thing I've ever been involved in my life. I can't believe the hours I've spent dealing with all the issues that have risen from COVID-19. But having said that, it's been an honor to do that. And I look forward to the challenge. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Apparently, if we get the vaccines up and rolling. But it is going to be, I'm going to guess we're going to be in these protocols for most of 2021. I don't see a whole lot of change coming in the near future. First and foremost, I want to truly thank all the staff at the county for their dedicated service through this year. It has been challenging. We've tried to make changes here to make accommodation for social distancing. We've rented some space for some staff to accommodate that. And even with everything going on, staff have been on top of everything from the get-go. And I truly have to thank them because the staff has done an outstanding job of making sure that we were able to provide the goods, the services and whatnot we needed to in the past year, even with all the pivots, because we had some work plans set out with in the last budget. And I don't know of one that hasn't actually had to pivot. Anyway, so that's great. Secondly, I want to thank the councilors for their support. It's been great. Hopefully I can meet the challenge again. Truly, I do appreciate your support and input into running the county of Perth. We have had some good successes in the last year. We got our accommodation review done. We've actually, most of you won't have been in the courthouse in the last 2-3 months, but all the renovations at the lower level have been done. And you must come in when you're safely able to do that and see it, because I think it's excellent the way we've got it set up in here now. It's going to be better for staff, and it's going to be better for everyone involved. And it gives POA far more room to work. Especially now in the need of social distancing. We got our bus transportation project launch here a couple of weeks ago. That's took a long time to get really rolling, but it's rolling, and so far it's looking good. There will be some challenges with COVID and everything else moving forward, but I'm sure our staff will be able to rise to the occasion to deal with it. We've had lots of discussions with regards to the restructuring of planning. We're nearing the end of those discussions, and we'll see where that takes us in the next month or two, and hopefully it'll all work out. EDC, I want to give a shout out to. They were exceptional and above and beyond once COVID started in pivoting to provide service to the residents of Perth County. They've made so many pivots and changes and helped businesses get online and whatnot. They truly should be commended. I know they've had discussions with provincial EDC people and EDCO, and a lot of the things we've done, they passed on and used in other municipalities. So it is a, that is a tribute, a testament to our staff in that department. Sally, I know, has been, our manager of planning, has been extremely busy, and the planning staff. We have been a bit short-staffed, but we seem to have that all but eliminated now. And I know one of the things she wants to truly get on the roll this year, there has been some work done on it, but we want to get that official plan completely finished and brought up to date. That is kind of a top priority issue, and I know Sally realizes that, but again, there's time constraints. So, but that is going to be a top priority in the near future here. And other than that, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe if Rhonda wanted to say a few words, I'm not sure if it's on the agenda, but anyway, I thank everybody for their support.
I too thank everyone for their support. I echo Jim's comments. It has been a trying year, and where, you know, I always say if we all stick together, we'll all come out the other end, and we are doing that. We are sticking together with staff and council, and yes, I'm honored to be your deputy warden for another year, and thanks again.
So we'll move to an adjournment. I believe there's a resolution that you may have.
Get on my, gotta get all my pieces of paper lined up here now. Okay. I have a motion that the warden's election meeting be adjourned at 9:29. Moved by Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. So, next on the agenda will be a short recess, because now what we have to do is change the configuration over and do some things, and then we'll hopefully 5 minutes. Within about 5 minutes, we should be able to resume our regular council meeting. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so we live now?
Yeah, we've been live.
Okay, so we're gonna call the regular meeting of county council to order. And again, we're gonna repeat with the moment of reflection for those able to stand. Do so, and we'll have a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. We're gonna keep going here. Got lots to do. And next on the agenda is the disclosure of pecuniary interest. You can do so at this point or any time through the meeting. And I do have a notice that Councillor Kellum has a conflict of interest on, is it 3 items, Councillor Kellum?
Through you, Warden. Yes, I do. Good morning, everyone. On December 3rd, 2020, I will disclose pecuniary interest on items 6.1 and 7.1, as I'm an employee of Ideal Supply. And then further to that item, 14.1 being the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kellum. Anyone else? Not seeing any hands go up. Okay. Next on the agenda is confirmation of the agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Do we have any slight alterations?
Through the warden, you have an additional notice of motion from Councillor Wilhelm.
Okay, so on the agenda, there's an additional notice. Tyler?
Yes, also through the warden, we do have a delegation that's going to be speaking on behalf of item 7.1.3 that came in as well.
That's the OPA for the Conservation Authority?
That is,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So we have those 2 items. We have another notice of motion. And we have a delegation to deal with 7.1.3. Did I get the numbers correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Can somebody move the agenda with those additions? Moved by Councillor Agate, second by Councillor Duncan. Any questions, comments? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. So now we have a motion that council receives the consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.10 and approves the November 19th, 2020 council minutes. Does anyone have anything they want to see pulled or discussed? I'm not seeing any hands. Do I have a mover in that regard? Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Wright. Those in favor? Carried. Okay, next on the agenda is I need a motion that county council recess and open the planning public meeting at approximately 9:38. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Hurlick. Those in favor? It's carried. Okay. So we're going to call the public meeting to order and disclosure of pecuniary interest. So Councillor Kellum has noted his already on this particular item. So I don't believe we need to do that again. For the record, though, he has declared a conflict of interest. Pecuniary interest. And so next on the agenda is I need a confirmation on the agenda that the plan of vacant lot condominium NP 20-01 public meeting December 30th, 2020 be approved. Moved by Councillor Hurley, Councillor Agate, second. Those in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have I've seen her name up there once before. We have a report for this draft plan of vacant land condominium approval by Scott Patterson on behalf of Makem Developments. And I believe we have Louisa, and I'm probably gonna not do a very good job. Vacandidio?
Vacandio, Warden.
Okay, perfect. We have, so you wanna take it from there?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Warden, and good morning, members of County Council. I will make a note just in advance of starting this public meeting. I've been advised that there's an error in the recommendation as listed on the agenda. This was noticed after it was published, but the Warden has been provided with the correct recommendation. So when he reads it out, it should be right. So as far as this meeting, I have prepared a presentation just to sort of illustrate the subject property and provide council with an overview. So I will attempt to screen share it now. Okay. Can we all see it?
You see it here.
See it? Okay. So good morning. This is a public meeting for a proposed vacant land condominium concerning the lands at 19 McLaren Avenue North, just north of Listowel. So the subject property, as I said, it is 19 McLaren Avenue. It is located to the south of the Ideal Supply building on Wallace Avenue and to the west of the St. Joseph's Church property. As you can see here, there is an aerial image denoting where the proposed vacant land condo will be located and the draft plan that has been provided by the applicant. So in summary, the subject property has a total lot area of 0.87 hectares or 2.15 acres. The proposal is for a 15-unit vacant land condominium, which is proposed to be developed as bungalow townhouse units. It consists of 15 units and common elements. So the common elements consist of a stormwater pond to the south, in the southwest corner there, a private road, and some landscaped areas. There are 2 easements proposed as part of this application. So one will be for the maintenance of the noise wall located there along the northern property line. That is to provide some buffering from the existing operation of Ideal Supply to the north there, and as well as to provide a second easement to provide access to the stormwater management pond for storm drainage for the church property to the east. As you can see here, I've sort of superimposed and sort of, this is not the draft plan, this is the site grading plan that was provided during site plan, just so that council can have an idea of sort of how the common element is delineated, and it's there outlined in green, and the proposed building footprints at this point in time. So you can see 15 townhouse type units there. So OP, so official plan and zoning permissions for this development are in place through previous planning approvals, and site plan approval has been received from the municipality of North Perth and has been finalized through a site plan agreement. So that's sort of provides a high level summary of the proposal at this point in time. Should there be any questions, I am available to answer.
Thank you, Louisa. Now, if I can get the screen back up.
Sure.
See some faces and maybe we'll know if we have some questions. Okay, do I have any questions or comments on this official plan application from members of council? Not seeing any. Did we receive any comments via prior to this? So we haven't received any comments either? Okay. Okay, I have a resolution here that the council of the county of Perth received the report entitled Application for Draft Plan of Vacant Land Condominium Approval by Scott Patterson on behalf of Makem Developments Incorporated, NP 20-01, affecting the property described as part of Lot 19, registered compiled plan number 487, Geographic Township of Wallace in the municipality of North Perth, 19 McLaren Ave North, Listowel, dated December 3rd, 2020, prepared by MHBC Planning, consulting planners for Perth County for information, and that Perth County received the comments from the public for consideration of the application for draft plan of vacant land condominium, while reserving a decision whether or not to approve the application at the regular meeting of Perth County Council being held on December 3rd, 2020. Do I have a mover? Councillor Katzenberg. Seconder would be Councillor Duncan. Okay, any questions or comments? Last chance. Those in favor? That's carried. Very good, thank you. Now, I'm gonna go back here.
Wait, you'd have to
So
adjourn, but no announcement.
we don't have any comments regarding the NP 2001 received for consideration?
Don't think so, no.
Because I have a motion here to receive them or receive for consideration.
Yeah, there weren't any, so that's
There
still
weren't
okay.
any?
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
we're-
taking,
No, that's fine. We've already passed
we don't
that.
have to, we don't need that.
That's fine. And we're on announcements.
Next on the agenda is we're gonna adjourn this public meeting or adjourn the public meeting at 9:46 and go back into regular session. Moved by Councillor Vacant, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? Carried. And now I need a motion that regular council reconvene at approximately 9:47 a.m. Moved by Councillor Hurlick, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Those in favor? Carried. Okay. We'll move this out of the way. We're back on to regular council. So now we are at planning services, staff reports, 7.1.1, application for draft plan of vacant land condominium approval by Scott Patterson. And we've just gone, yes, Tyler?
So through the warden, we're going to deal with the delegation 6.2 at this time.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we do have a delegation. So that delegation is for the Upper Thames.
Correct. Yeah, they're going to be speaking on.
Yeah,
behalf
I
of-
wasn't sure if they were gonna wait till there was actually in discussion or do it now.
I believe do it now with the presentation.
Okay,
that
so
they have.
before we go to 7.1, we are gonna have the delegation. And that is from.
So that's,
Oh, here I got it.
Sorry?
Don't have any names on here. So I think it's Spen, oh, here we go. Was it Mark Stone
yes,
and is Spencer on that
as well as Bill. Mack.
and Bill Mackey? So if we can get them up on the screen.
Spencer McDonald.
Mark's not on here.
If they're there.
Good morning.
Mark Stone.
That's my Mark Erasmus.
Spencer.
We got one in the middle.
We just have two people on it.
That's not Spencer. That's not Mark.
That's Mark Stone.
Okay.
So Mark Stone
No,
and
yeah, I'm
Spencer.
Mark.
Yeah,
Who's who?
that's Mark Stone. That shows up as Spencer.
Must use his name.
There's Bill Mackey down in the corner.
Mark Stone. Bill Mackey.
There's Spencer.
Okay, there's Spencer. Okay, now we got all three up there.
At least you know them.
Okay, I'm not sure who's leading off for you people, but you can take it away.
I am. Good morning, and thank you for allowing us to speak this morning. Now, I should have asked, we have a PowerPoint. I provided it to staff. Will I be running that or will staff be running that PowerPoint?
So through the warden, staff will be running it. Just give us an indicator. We're going to put it on the screen now and just let us know when you need a new slide and we'll move forward.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you very much. So good morning. My name is Mark Stone. I'm with MLS Planning Consulting, and I am, yeah, if you could just go up to the first slide, the cover slide, let's call it. Great, thanks. And I'm representing the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority this morning. I'll be attempting to provide a very brief presentation, and then following that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Joining me from the Conservation Authority are Spencer McDonald and Bill Mackey. They are available in case there are any questions that are better answered by authority staff. Again, I have several slides, but I'm really going to focus on the background and our summary comments, but I will quickly summarize the subject properties. Next slide, please. So as a bit of background, commencing in the 1960s, the Conservation Authority purchased various properties in the township of Perth South and the municipality of West Perth as a land assembly in the anticipation of the Glengowan Dam and Reservoir project. So for several decades, the Conservation Authority has rented these agricultural properties to local farmers and has also maintained and separately rented out dwellings that exist on these properties. As far as process, the Conservation Authority will issue tenders for the rental of these properties, and then each successful bidder has to enter into a farm lease agreement, and that's generally for a period of 5 years. And this rent has, for decades, has provided a long-term revenue source to the Conservation Authority to support programs and so on. At the end of 2018, the dam and reservoir project was canceled. The Conservation Authority plans to retain and continue to rent the agricultural properties to local farmers, but wants to dispose of the surplus farm dwellings. And part of this is because the Conservation Authority, although they've done it for a while, they're not in the business of maintaining rental properties. The Conservation Authority simply doesn't have the long-term capacity to be a residential landlord, but they've seen benefits over the years of maintaining and renting the larger farmer properties. Next slide, please. So the proposed county official plan amendment applies to 5 properties, 4 of which are in Perth South and 1 in West Perth. Excuse me, I'll just take a quick sip here. Public meetings were held in both municipalities early last month, as noted in the staff report, and both councils indicated support for the proposed county official plan amendment. The properties range in size from about 27 hectares to about 180 hectares. All of the properties are designated agriculture according to the county official plan, with natural resources and other designations applying to portions of some of those properties. Next slide, please. So in the interest of time, and because the staff report provides a detailed overview of the properties, I'll provide very brief overviews of each property. The property shown here is located in West Perth at 2492 Road 137. Next slide, please. It's designated agriculture and is about just over 27 hectares in size. Next slide. Moving over to Perth South, shown here are 3 abutting land holdings, municipally known as 2248, 2288, and 2346 Road 137. They range in size from about 50 to 54 hectares and are located between the 10th line and line 12. These properties are generally rectangular in shape, and the surplus farm dwellings on each property are generally located in proximity to Road 137. As a note, the properties were inadvertently merged on title due to common ownership by the Conservation Authority. Next slide, please. The remaining property is municipally known as 983115 Wildwood Road. It's about 180 hectares in size and is located southeast of Highway 7 between Road 117 and line 15. Next slide, please. And the primary designation applying to the properties in Perth South is agriculture, according to the county official plan. So that's a very quick overview of the 5 properties. I'd like to just go to the last slide now, our summary. So to summarize, the requested site-specific amendments to the county's plan are required to address a very unique circumstance as a result of the Conservation Authority's long-term assembly and ownership of these land holdings, and due to the canceling of the dam project. The councils of the municipality of West Perth and Township of Perth South have recommended approval of OPA 193. The long-term agricultural use of these properties will continue and large land holdings will be maintained. While the Conservation Authority does not have a farm business registration number, every farmer who leases a property does possess one. The proposed lots to be severed will be limited in size and to a size sufficient to accommodate the existing residential uses. The Conservation Authority has made it clear that they have no objection to prohibitions on the creation of no new residential dwellings on remnant farm parcels, and approval of these applications will help maintain the existing rural housing stock, which provides needed housing and also contributes to the rural character. Just a few things quickly I want to add. With respect to provincial policy, we did know from the outset there would be questions about the appropriateness of this proposal in light of provincial policies. That is why we consulted early with the province and specifically OMAFRA, starting back in the fall of 2019. This application obviously would have been circulated to the province. We're not aware of any formal comments from the province during the two public meetings and leading up to today. So my read, and it's only a read, is that the province recognizes the unique circumstances and has left it to the local municipalities to determine, and the county, to determine the appropriateness of this special circumstance. I should note that the way I read some of the wording in the PPS is that it's intended to provide some flexibility to allow for practical and innovative application of policies based on local circumstances. And so I think there's some applicability here. Again, with respect to provincial policy, in my view, it's consistent with the vast majority of relevant policies with respect to preserving rural housing and with respect to remnant lots. The definition of resident surplus to a farming operation does speak to existing habitable farm residences. These residences that we're referring to are habitable and are not required or surplus because they're not required by the farmers to expand their operations through the rental of these farms. Again, because of this unique circumstance, the CA has purchased and consolidated these holdings starting, as I said, in the 1960s, and have maintained and rented these consolidated holdings to farmers for decades. On the county official plan, the proposal meets the vast majority of policies, and I won't go into them in detail, but the Conservation Authority has agreed to policy requirements with respect to restrictions on new dwellings and so on. It is noted by staff that the Conservation Authority is not a farm operator. They own the lands, but they're not actually the operators. Again, I have to emphasize this is a special circumstance. Sure, the Conservation Authority is not a farmer, but in preparation for the now canceled dam project, the Conservation Authority has created and maintained a very unique circumstance where we have a public body supporting the expansion of local operations for local farm operators. And I'll just add with respect to the OPA itself, OPAs are often intended to address very unique circumstances not contemplated by policy frameworks. And we would contend that this circumstance is the type of situation that is appropriate for consideration via the proposed OPA. And then very last point, in my view, there have been some comments about this creating a precedence. Approval of this OPA will not create a precedence. We are suggesting or asking for special policies for a very unique situation. It's a special policy, is a special exception for this circumstance, and in my view, should not create a precedent or lead to the approval of other applications that are very unlike the one that's proposed by the Conservation Authority. That's my overview. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with your group there? Everything to add?
I don't think so. Spencer, Bill, did you want to jump in with anything, or are we good?
Through you, Mr. Warden, I think our agent, Mark Stone, provided a good overview of what's being proposed and in front of you here today. As indicated, Bill Mackey and myself are available for any questions or if we need to address any comments made by members of council.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from council? I see Councillor Hurlick's hand up there.
Yeah, no, good, thanks there. Just got a question there. You will be able to use that as an asset, essentially. Can you borrow money against that as an asset, the Conservation Authority?
So through you to Councillor Hurlick, yes, certainly is an asset. And if I didn't emphasize this, the idea here is that the rental of these farm properties do provide a long-term rental income, which I think is good, is in the public interest. As far as borrowing against those assets, I haven't specifically asked that question. I would assume that it can, like any other landowner.
Councillor Hurlick, one more.
No, I asked that because I know sitting on the health unit, Councillor Wilhelm will be aware of this too, and who owns the building, and it's an asset and it's public. This is a little different, of course, but if you can or can't borrow money against it. You talk of the benefits of continuous ownership, and you guys keeping the ownership, or the authority rather. I just question that you're prepared to have the houses severed and people living in them. So it really tells me you're prepared for this to be farmland for the long haul. And I just question why this can't be sold off up by tender and the wealth that it'll generate quickly. And I just question, because they're clearly prepared to allow the housing to stay. So that tells me there is no intention of development or floodplain or pooling. So yeah, just a little more on that.
So through you to the councillor, yeah, certainly development is not allowed, just given the designation of these lands. The Conservation Authority has no intent. Their only intent is to ask for these special policies to allow for these surplus farm dwellings to be severed off. Certainly, if these policies are not approved, then not sure what the Conservation Authority will do. One option, I suppose, is that they would look at selling those properties because the maintenance of the residential components are quite costly to them. That's one of the issues they're trying to address. And I guess, quite frankly, if they're sold, a farmer may purchase them, and then they'll be in front of county council applying for a surplus farm severance. So the end result will likely mean that there will be a surplus farm lot created. Unfortunately, if the Conservation Authority decides to maintain the property, given the high cost of maintenance and so on, I can only speculate that there may be the possibility that we would lose those homes, and that would, in my view, would be very unfortunate.
Councillor Wilhelm.
I think my understanding is that in our meetings and with these houses, that due to circumstances, Upper Thames will not sell the farmland because due to their obligations with the province and the City of London, if they dispose of those farmlands, and the revenue generated from the farmland is contributing to their operating, and I think that's they find that a good resource. And they've indicated to me anyways, that if these houses aren't severed off, they do not intend to continue to be landlords, and they will take the necessary steps to terminate them being landlords. Is that correct?
Yes, generally speaking, that's my understanding. And of course, when I was answering the previous question, I'm thinking about the different options. But I think the Conservation Authority would like to maintain these properties as farm properties. There are good stewardship programs they'd like to continue. There is a long-term revenue source associated. But as I mentioned, unfortunately, if they maintain them, there is the possibility that you could see these houses lost just because of the cost of maintenance and repairs and so on.
Other questions, comments? Councillor McKenzie?
Well, I think it is a very unique circumstance, as has been said several times here. I think if you go back to comments that have been made around council tables in the past, and the comment about looking for savings with specifically Upper Thames, and here's an option. We've talked about getting rid of some surplus properties that they have, and this is what they're actually doing. As was mentioned, whether it's a farmer or whether it's a conservation authority, for all intents and purposes, the houses are still surplus. And I think we need to keep that in mind. Certainly, if the conservation authorities were able to obtain a farm business registration number, this wouldn't even be a problem right now. But it's because of that we're facing this. And I think when we went through this, and most of you were around when we were putting this surplus farmhouse severance package together through planning, we never even dreamt or thought about conservation authorities. And I think they are very unique in this circumstance. And I would feel the same way if something was coming from the Grand or Sabo Bayfield or Maitland. Very, very unique. So I agree with what has been previously said by Councillor Wilhelm.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, well, thanks, Mark and Mr. Mackey and
Thank you.
Donald there. And I have a motion here that Perth County receives the MLS Planning Consultants Report. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Doug Ike. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So we're done with that. We're going to move on. Now we're going to go back to 7.1.1. Sorry about that little things get added here at the last second. It makes it tough when I got all this paperwork and shuffle through. Anyway, so now we're going to go to 7.1.1, and that is the application for draft plan of vacant land condominium approval by Scott Patterson on behalf of Makem Developments Inc. NP 20-001. And I have Louisa back on the screen there. I'm assuming she's going to speak to this. So take it away.
Yes, thank you, Warden Aitchison. Thank you, members of council. Rather than repeat what I have previously said in the public meeting portion of this council meeting, I'd like to share my screen again just to sort of provide the copy of the plan. So as previously mentioned, this is for a draft vacant land condo application. As I previously noted, this property is in North Perth, in the Wallace Ward, just north of Listowel. The municipal address is 19 McLaren Avenue North. As you can see on the aerial image there, that's where the proposed vacant land condo is to be located, situated. It would consist of 15 vacant land units as well as common elements, which would contain a private road and a stormwater management pond. There would be 2 easements proposed as far as this condo development. So one would be to Ideal Supply to maintain the noise wall just located along the northern property line there, and as well as to the church to the east to provide access for storm drainage to the stormwater management pond. As previously mentioned, I am available for any questions the council may have.
Okay, thanks. If we can go back to the screen now. Any questions from council or members of council, or any comments from members of council? I've got a couple that I'm not seeing their face, but
Doug 8 has it. He's closed because he has a conflict, but we need to
oh
see.
no, Doug Kellum. Doug
Yeah.
Kellum has a conflict.
Yeah,
I
sorry, Doug
understand
Kellum.
he's closed
We need to
off,
see
but-
Doug 8.
Okay, we got a couple more back on. So no one has any more comments or questions on this application? Just making sure I'm not seeing any. Some of the faces are actually kind of hard to see up there this morning. Anyway, I have a motion here that County Council receive the report entitled Application for Draft Plan of Vacant Land Condominium Approval by Scott Patterson on behalf of Makem Developments Inc. NP 20-01, affecting the property described as part of Lot 19, Registrar's Compiled Plan number 487, Geographic Township of Wallace in the municipality of North Perth, 19 McLaren Avenue North, Listowel, dated December 3rd, 2020, prepared by MHBC Planning Consulting Planners for Perth County for information. And that Perth County Council, that the Council of the County of Perth approve the application for a draft plan of vacant land condominium approval by Scott Patterson on behalf of Makem Developments Inc. NP 20-01, affecting property described as part lot 19, Registrar's Compiled Plan number 487, Geographic Township of Wallace in the municipality of North Perth, 19 McLaren Ave North, Listowel, subject to the following conditions for approval. There are a list of 15 items that were on that report. You've all had a chance to read it. I could read through every one of them, but that's going to take us about a half an hour. Do I have someone with any questions regard to the conditions of that motion? Is there any questions? I'm not seeing any. Does somebody wish to move that motion? Councillor Kasenberg, seconded by Councillor Eit. Last chance for discussion on it. Those in favor? It's carried. Okay, we're moving on. We're done with that one. And we will move on to 7.1.2, application for draft plan of condominium by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited, number NP 20-03. And do we have, who do we have? Sally presenting this?
I think it'd be David.
Was that?
Through the word Sally and David.
Okay, so on this, we're gonna have Sally and David. We'll get them up on the screen.
David should be joining us shortly. He is the planner assigned to this file, so he'll be providing you with the report, summary, and recommendation.
Thanks, Sally.
He's here.
See his
No,
name, but
no video yet.
no video. Couple little technical glitches here. We're
David is rejoining. He had some connectivity issues.
oh, see you weren't the only one. It's terribly frustrating when you're in a meeting and you just have that issue.
Yeah, you can't get in.
We'll give them a minute perhaps, and if not, I can fill in.
We're still having a connection issue?
Worse. Your mic is on and.
I'm on, okay.
Yep, and
All
video.
right,
There you
okay.
go.
Good morning, Warden Aitchison, members of County Council. My apologies, I was having technical difficulties at my workstation there. Everyone can hear me okay?
Yep, okay.
Great, great. So I'll just start. The application before you today is concerning a proposed description for a plan of condominium in the listable ward. The applicants, on behalf of the owners of the subject property, are seeking to develop a portion of a proposed residential retirement residence building under a plan of condominium description. The subject property is found within the southwestern portion of the listable ward. The subject property in this case has frontage to the west along Nelson Avenue South and has frontage to the east along Havelock Avenue South. The subject property is to be developed with a 3-story multi-residential building, which would contain 84 dwelling units. 18 of these units are proposed to be registered under the proposed plan of condominium description. The residence is intended to accommodate senior citizens and will contain on-site services for residents. Decisions concerning applications for draft plans of condominium are required to be consistent with the provincial policy statement. Section 143 of the PPS states that planning authorities shall provide for an appropriate range and mix of housing options and densities to meet projected market-based and affordable housing needs of current and future residents of the regional market area by permitting and facilitating all housing options that are required to meet social, health, economic, and well-being requirements of both current and future residents, including special needs requirements. The PPS defines special needs to mean, among other things, any housing, including dedicated facilities that are to be used by people who have specific needs beyond economic needs, including, among other resident categories, housing for older persons. The subject property is found within a designated serviced urban area of the County of Perth official plan and is also designated as residential within the local listable ward official plan. The proposed draft plan of condominium will provide for growth and development within the listable ward, having connection to existing infrastructure, and will also utilize existing land which has been designated by the county and allocated to accommodate urban growth and development. The proposed draft plan of condominium will also contribute to a range of land uses and housing tenure types for elderly persons, which will help to satisfy housing demand within the county and the listable ward. The subject lands are found within the residential zone 6, R6-4 of the Municipality of North Perth zoning bylaw. Existing zoning does permit the intended form of development on the site. The details and merits of the proposed plan of condominium have been evaluated against the set of criteria which are provided under section 51 sub 24 of the Planning Act. The proposed plan of condominium has been found to meet or satisfy all criteria contained under this section of the Planning Act where they apply. The proposed draft plan of condominium has been found to conform to the relevant policies of the County of Perth official plan, the listable ward official plan, and have been found to be consistent with the provincial policy statement. The proposed development of the subject lands for Council's information did receive site plan approval from the Municipality of North Perth on November 19th, 2018, with appropriate zoning having also been previously considered and adopted by North Perth Council to permit the proposed form of development on the subject lands. The request to permit a condominium description for a portion of the proposed dwelling units on the site does represent a preferred form of tenure on the part of the developers to ensure success for the intended development. County staff are recommending that County Council receive our report concerning file NP 20-03 for information, and that County Council approve the application for draft plan of subdivision, or sorry, my apologies, for draft plan of condominium submitted by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited for the subject lands, subject to the 12 conditions that are noted in our report. That is the summary of our report concerning this development and our recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of council may have. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Questions for David from council? Comments? I'm not seeing none in the room here. Okay, I have a motion here that the council of the County of Perth received the report entitled Application for Draft Plan of Condominium number NP 20-03 by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited, affecting property described as part of Block 39, Plan 44M-10, Part 1 on 44R-5485, listable ward, Municipality of North Perth, Havelock Avenue South, listable dated December 3rd, 2020, prepared by the county planner for information, and that the council of the County of Perth approved the application for draft plan of condominium NP 20-03 by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited, affecting property described as part of Block 39, Plan 44M-10, Part 1 on 44R-5485, listable ward, Municipality of North Perth, Havelock Avenue South, listable, subject to the following conditions. And those conditions are listed in your report. There's 12 conditions. I'm not going to reread them all. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those conditions? Not seeing any hands go up. I have one little quick question. There's 2 clearances you've had at the end of that report. Should that be included in the resolution?
Through the warden, to answer your question, they should be included as part of the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, David. So that, I'm going to slightly change this, subject to the following conditions. The 12 conditions noted in the report and the 2 clearances noted in the report. Moved by Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor Kazenberg. Last chance for comment or questions. Seeing none. Those in favor? It's carried. Thanks. We're done with that. We're going to move on. And next is the county official plan amendment by MLS Planning Consulting on behalf of the Upper Thames Conservation Authority report. And I'm thinking David, Sally, either or both. David, you taking that away, the lead?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, David.
Okay. Thank you, Warden Aitchison, Warden, members of County Council. Our report concerning official plan amendment number 193. You may have heard from Mr. Stone and members of UTRCA previously. So this report I'm presenting is with regard to the application that they spoke to. The owners in this case are seeking an amendment to the County of Perth official plan that would apply on a site-specific basis to separate farm properties which are located within the Township of Perth South as well as the Municipality of West Perth, that to allow for future severance of these existing farm dwellings as surplus farm dwellings. Criteria for the severance of surplus farm dwellings in the official plan require that the land on which the surplus farm dwelling is situated must be operated or will be operated as part of a consolidated farm operation, and separately that the farm property on which a surplus farm dwelling is located must be eligible for the farm property class tax rate program, and that the property owner must have a valid farm business registration number OPA 193 is seeking relief from these requirements. If the OPA is approved by County Council, related applications for consent will be made to the County of Perth Land Division Committee. Section 2341 of the provincial policy statement states that lot creation in prime agricultural areas is discouraged and may only be permitted for, among other things, a resident surplus to a farming operation as a result of farm consolidation. The PPS defines a resident surplus to a farming operation as an existing habitable farm residence rendered surplus as a result of farm consolidation, meaning the acquisition of additional farm parcels to be operated as one farm operation. As noted in the planning justification report provided by the applicants, the UTRCA acquired the subject properties over time, beginning in the 1960s in order to secure land holdings to facilitate construction of the planned Glengowan Dam and Reservoir project. In December of 2018, the Conservation Authority officially canceled this project. During its ownership of the subject properties, the UTRCA has leased the tillable acres on each property to various farm operators who through each lease have used these areas of land for agricultural production. The UTRCA has pursued an active farm stewardship role throughout its ownership by including recommended tillage, cropping, and environmental best management practices specific to each farm property. The UTRCA also encourages tenant farm operators to develop their own farm management plans and provides operators with staffing resources where appropriate to assist with development and implementation of these plans. The UTRCA also leases or has leased the existing farm dwellings found on each of the properties to private tenants, thus contributing to a wider supply of rural housing options for county residents over the course of many years. Should OPA 193 be approved and adopted by County Council, the intent of the Conservation Authority would be to then apply for consent to sever each of the 5 existing farm dwellings as surplus farm dwellings, while retaining continued ownership of the farmlands on each property to continue leasing or renting to farm operators. While it has been demonstrated that the UTRCA assembled a farm property portfolio associated with the dam and reservoir project by acquiring the subject properties containing farm dwellings at various points over time, and has subsequently leased these properties to farm operators for farming purposes, the UTRCA, as owner of the subject lands, is not a farm operator. The policies of the County of Perth official plan that pertain to severance of farm dwellings deemed surplus as a result of farm consolidation is a direct reference to the PPS policies and definitions. These policies and definitions are designed and intended to limit the ability to sever existing farm dwellings, specifically to active landowning farm operators, thereby encouraging expansion and or long-term continuance of existing farm operations while preserving rural housing stock. With respect to existing official plan policies that govern severability of surplus farm dwellings and the direction contained under the PPS and supporting definitions, the UTRCA does not qualify as a landowning farm operator and therefore has not operated the subject properties together as a consolidated farm operation. The proposed severances that would result should OPA 193 be approved would not directly contribute to either the expansion or long-term continuance of an existing farm operation. County planning staff are recommending that County Council deny the proposed official plan amendment as it is not consistent with section 2.3.4.1C of the provincial policy statement or the provincial policy statement definition of resident surplus to a farming operation. A draft amendment has been provided for consideration by County Council, which is generally consistent with the application. That is the summary of our report and recommendation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of council may have. Thank you.
Thanks, David. So I see a hand up about Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, further to David's comments and comments previous we've heard, I believe that this is a special circumstance. This is an opportunity for Perth County Council to allow rural houses to stay in place and contribute to our communities. Just to give you some idea, as I mentioned before, Upper Thames has no interest in selling these farm properties, which is what Perth South Council would have preferred. However, they've certainly indicated that they use that revenue for their further operations and expect to continue. In our last information from Upper Thames, I understand why they don't want to be landlords. They are controlled under the Landlord Tenant Act, I believe. And I believe the one house, they get $116 a month, and the rest they get a little over $700. So I can see where that is detrimental to their operation, and what they get probably costs them more to keep the houses up than the revenue generated by rent. And with that, I would request a recorded vote on this. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Councillor Agates, and then I have Councillor Duncan after that. So far, Councillor Agates.
Well, I believe that we are going to be setting a precedent if we allow this. We have criteria that has to be met in order to take these houses off the farms, and unfortunately, they don't meet the criteria. They are not a farm operator. They don't have a business number. They can sell the farms. They do have an option. And the fact that they're telling us that they're going to tear down these houses if we don't allow this, we're to look at what before us is whether we're going to allow the severance. What they're going to do with the houses or what they're going to do with the farms, that's up to them. We're only looking at the actual severance. When we go to land division, we don't sever the properties according to what's going to go on that property. We go according to the criteria, and I don't think they meet the criteria. Just to give you an example, I know of a gentleman who owns a house in Listowel. He owns 2 farms. One has a house, one doesn't. He does not meet the criteria to sever off that farmhouse. He wants to. So if we allow this, I think we need to allow him then to be able to sever off his house, because I think we are setting a precedent by allowing this to happen.
Councillor Duncan.
I got a few comments. Knowing that, to me, the right direction would be to sell the farms as well. But sitting on the Conservation Authority board, I know that it's not just as easy as the Conservation Authority putting them up for sale due to the complications with the province. I agree with Rhonda. Like it is setting a precedent, and that concerns me as well. But I also have a big concern that we're just going to see them go in with a high and tear those houses down if we don't allow them to do something with them. So my question would be, because they do hold a bunch of farmland, why could they not obtain a farm registration number, and their income under that farm registration number would be the rental of that land?
David or Walter?
Oh, maybe David could answer it, but that question was asked at our council meeting, and Bill Mackey actually answered it and said that they went to OMAFRA and went to the farm business registration people and asked them, and they just point blank said no, that they couldn't get a number. So that's the issue, and that's why that's the situation that they're in.
Councillor Duncan?
At this point, I think they should try a little harder. Whether they have to involve our MPP to push this along, but I think they should try a little harder so that this could be completely done to policy instead of us making this OPA and going outside of that at this point.
Other questions or comments? I'm having trouble. Councillor Hurlick, did I see your hand go up? No? Yeah, it is. Okay, Councillor Hurlick.
Great, thank you. No, it's uniqueness there for sure. I look at this situation, and because there's multiple angles, but I do see the idea. I don't think that the idea that these farms will get sold, and if these houses are savable and habitable, I'm going to be honest, I'm thinking they're going to be sold and kept, or families put in them. And I don't see the uniqueness of this at all. No, I don't. These farms can be sold, put into farmers' hands. And it's no different than me, myself, or anybody. There's times you use your asset for equity, or there's times it's time to let go. And it's a living legacy fund, if you would, within the Conservation Authority, and they have to respect the funds they receive. And maybe they could build off of them there, and they realize they have that money cash in hand, but when it's gone, it's gone. The same as the rest of us. There's a time for using your property as equity and borrow against, and then there is a time where you have to let it go. I find myself pretty steadfast on where I will be with this. Thank you.
Councilor Wright, did you want to make comment?
Yeah, I just look at what Sally's done here. She's changed as we've evolved in this farmhouse severance thing. I don't know if you severed lot 35 concession, one of Ellis Township. It was clearly a house that hadn't been lived in for 15 years. They put a used vehicle there for 2 months to make it look like somebody lived there. It was great. I loved it. I talked to Rhonda about it. I talked to the guy across the road from my house who actually owns that farm. But I think if you get too narrow a description, we can let them sever these. $116 a month. To be honest, I don't know there's a farmer out there who wouldn't tear that house down. I think all those houses, if farmers buy them, if they're livable, and I don't know how much upkeep they've had, they could be all torn down anyhow. Even if a farmer buys them, he might say like $116 a month. I don't know if that's true, but it just dumbfounds me that that's all they could get for it. I just look to the future. I'd rather have 5 houses with people living in them. And like Daryl said, I think Daryl was saying, he cuts in and out. They have the equity that they're going to bring money in every year to the Upper Thames. If they got $10 million for these farms, in 2 years down the road, their mandate would be to have it all spent, and they'd still be out there with their hand up Upper Thames, asking for more money from the taxpayer. So it's a kind of a catch-22. I will vote the way I voted at county or at local council to let it go through, which is tricky because you have to vote the wrong way in this situation.
Other comment, Walter?
Well,
Councilor McKenzie?
Yeah, thank you. We've heard several comments that it's a precedent, and Bob Wilhelm made the comment that the whole idea of the surplus farmhouse severances was to preserve the rural houses and to keep them in place, because we were losing them left and right and have lost a lot over the years. And I guess my comment is it's because of one technicality that they're in this spot, and it's because they cannot get a farm registration number. I don't know how many more of these are out there, but maybe what we should be looking at to take away the precedence part of it is in our policy that the conditions that allow surplus farmhouse severances, we make a provision for conservation authorities. I think that this is all the ones that apply to Upper Thames right here, but I don't know if there's any in Perth County and the other conservation areas or not. But if we treated them all the same, then it wouldn't be considered a precedent, and it would allow them to dispose of the houses that they have no need for.
Councilor Duncan?
I like Walter's idea, and therefore I would like to put a motion on the floor to defer this until county staff can have a look at the going through with Walter's idea, and we can bring it back after we do some investigation.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to defer this. Is there a seconder for that motion? That would be Councilor Higgins. So, there's a motion on the floor to defer this decision until we get a report back from staff with regards to this item of surplus farmhouse severances and conservation authorities in general. Is that the way you want that worded, Matt? Okay, it's got a thumbs up there. So I'm going to read a motion here. County Council received the application for County Official Plan Amendment by MLS Planning Consultant on behalf of Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, OPA 193, for information. And Perth County defer the application for official plan amendment for MLS Planning Consulting on behalf of Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, OPA, for property described as parts lots 2 to 4, concession 15 Blanchard, Township of Perth South, and for property described as part lot 19 to 24, concession 11, part of lot 20 to 24, concession 12, Gore of Downey Ward, Township of Perth South, and for property described as part of lot 29 to 31, East Mitchell Road, Fullerton Ward, Municipality of West Perth, and it and have a staff prepare the report with what I actually just read there a minute ago, or said a minute ago. So we want a report back from staff to deal with surplus farmhouse severances with regards to all the conservation authorities. Is that clear enough, Tyler? Councillor Wilhelm, do you still want to record a vote on that? Yeah. Okay. So
No, sorry, I was muted there. No, we don't need a recorded vote on a deferral, I don't think. Thank you.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. Does anybody want it explained or read one more time? This time I'll let Tyler read it. I'm not seeing any hands. Those in favor of that motion? That is carried. Perfect. Okay, we're done with that one. And we will move on. So Sally or David, you're still there? There you gone. David? Just ballpark when you think well, you guys can deal with it through MLS and staff. We'll get a report back in. It won't be for our next meeting. I'm going to guess that's in January. Perhaps we'll get that.
Through the warden, we'll receive the direction from council today, and we'll be working on it. But we'll try to turn this around as fast as we can.
Okay, thanks, David. Perfect. Okay. So now we have 7.1.4, application for county official plan amendment number 194 by 2516459 Ontario Limited. And David, you're doing that one? David's still up there? Or who we got on that one?
That's wording through you to be Evan.
David?
Evan?
Oh, we got Evan on that one? Okay. I can't see the screen.
It's in the
Well, I got this plexiglass in front of
yeah.
me and it's just about impossible to read.
Bottom right corner.
Okay, Evan, thank you.
Thank you, Warden Atchison. And through you, Warden, I'm going to share my screen. So I've prepared a very brief presentation to help visualize everything that's going on with official plan amendment number 194. Okay. So the county received an application for an official plan amendment to the property at 4282 line 39 in Perth East. The subject property is located just off of line 39, part of lot 7 and 8, concession 5 in the Ellis Ward. You can see here, this is the subject property. And then on the other side of the subject property is, I'm just going to say this for reference later on here in the discussion, but there's an existing aggregate operation, a pit that's across the street, encompasses all of this land here. And as you can see, on the subject property is a existing farm dwelling, barn and drive shed. So I'll give you a little bit of history first on this application. So the property owner applicant originally applied for a consent, which was application B5119, which was brought forward to Perth East Council last year for a recommendation for approval, and then again brought to County Council not too far from this time last year, and was recommended to be deferred subject to investigation of the aggregate resources on the subject property. So the severance application triggered a site-specific county official plan amendment, which is what we're hearing now, OPA 194, to allow for the proposed severance within the mineral aggregate resources designation in the County of Perth official plan. So you can see the subject property here, where my cursor is. About 2/3 of the subject property are designated mineral aggregate resources, primary or secondary aggregate resource. The primary secondary aggregate resource is an actual designation, but it more so applies as almost an overlay. It's based off of the Ministry of Natural Resources mapping and the Ontario Geologic Survey, which identifies areas of potential aggregate resources, sand or gravel or consolidated bedrock potential resources. The other 1/3 of the property is agriculture. So in the mineral aggregate resources designation, permitted uses include all of those related to aggregate extraction and agricultural uses, so farming. Currently, the property is operated as a farming operation by the applicant, and there is a dwelling on the property here. So the use that's currently existing on the subject property is permitted in both the county official plan and the zoning bylaw. So essentially what they are applying for is a site-specific exception to allow for a surplus farm dwelling severance on the property within the mineral aggregate resources designation. So in order to determine whether or not the severance is applicable and through that the official plan amendment, we needed to understand what the impact of the severance would be on this potential aggregate resource. So we had requested the applicant prepare what's called an aggregate impact assessment, an aggregate resources impact assessment. The applicant retained MTE consultants to do a geotechnical investigation. So they did boreholing to determine whether or not the aggregate resources on site were plentiful and feasible in terms of its extraction. So they did test pitting and they compared well records to determine the type and quantity of resources on the site. Essentially what they determined was that given the size of the site and the depth of the resources below the surface, it would not be economically feasible for most producers to extract from the subject property. One thing I wanted to note, and coming back to the original slide, is the existence of this pit across the street. So the pit is an existing license, and they are the property that has the pit is more than 100 hectares in size. So it's more than double the size of the existing property. So what this shows is there are existing aggregate resources viable for extraction in the area, but the property across the street has such an area and size that the required sidewalls, if you will, to bring heavy equipment into the site to extract those resources is large enough to accommodate that equipment and that type of gradients to get to those resources. Furthermore, the bedrock resources required for a quarry operation are so deep, in fact, that extraction on the subject property would be very limited in terms of the sidewalling. So essentially what happens is they dig ramps down to get to the resource, and those ramps would require enough distance from the sides of the property to get to it. And by the time they get to that resource, they would be such that the resource is limited to an area here in the middle. And by the time you associate the costs to get to those resources, the extraction amount would be not viable, based off of the current mapping, at least. So what was determined through the aggregate impact assessment and our further review of existing aggregate resources in the area was that the severance is simply creating a lot boundary. It is not proposing new development as a result of the official plan amendment and subsequent consent. And while the new severance would indeed create additional setback requirements from the new lot boundary here in the corner, it would not preclude or hinder the establishment of a new aggregate operation in the future should a industrious producer wish to purchase the property and establish a new use and or expand from the neighboring property. That's not saying they will do that given the limitations on the size and the resources available, but it's the severance itself will not preclude or hinder that option later. And in addition, most producers would not attempt to apply for a new license to do an extraction operation if they don't own both the severed and retained lot. And the existence of a new severed lot would not preclude them from purchasing both properties in the future as well. So ultimately, it was determined that, again, that this establishment of a new severance here would not preclude or hinder future aggregate operations on site. And also the severance will not preclude or hinder the existing agricultural use. So essentially what will happen if this official plan amendment is removed or is applied, is that it would allow for the severance and the uses will maintain status quo for the subject property. The neighbors will not see a change to what is happening. The difference will be that there's going to be a new property boundary here. So again, this specific proposal is to amend the county official plan to provide a site-specific exception, which would permit a surplus farm dwelling severance within the mineral aggregate resources designation. The surplus farm dwelling severance will have to conform to the same surplus farm dwelling severance policies as all other SFD severances in the county. And the permissions will also include that a single detached dwelling and accessory uses are permitted on land severed as surplus for a farm resident to a farming operation. And those are sort of just a regularizing exercise as part of the official plan amendment. Again, nothing will be changing as a result of these applications. So the next steps are this official plan will be, our recommendation is to approve. So that would happen. And then the consent application B5119 can be brought back to Perth County Land Division Committee. It does not need to go back to the local council at this point. And then they can make a recommendation or resolution on that in either late December or early next year, depending on the timing. And then there will be a notice of decision issued. And within 20 days, the neighbors can have an opportunity to appeal if should there be any contention with the application. And then if there's no appeals, then the applicant will have 1 year to fill the conditions of consent. One of those conditions that some of you may have heard already is the requirement for zoning bylaw amendments. So that zoning bylaw amendment can then be brought back to council early 2021. And then once all conditions are satisfied within 1 year, the certificate of consent is granted and the lot becomes legal. So bringing it back to this, the appeal section here, I do note that county has received 2 phone calls and a letter. One of those letters is attached to the report from members of the public. None of those members of the public are in opposition to the proposed severance or the official plan amendment. What they were wondering is more clarity on what the application entails, and they had concerns that they did not want to see a new aggregate operation established on the subject property. So that plays in again to the intent of these applications, which is not to establish an aggregate operation. So essentially there are no concerns with the comments that were brought up with the public. I think that's a good spot to end. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. But the final step is our recommendations to you today are to 1, receive the report for information, 2, to approve the official plan amendment, and 3, to approve the implementing bylaw, which will bring into effect the official plan amendment number 194.
Thanks, Evan. Questions for Evan from council, or questions or comments or whatever? I'm not seeing any hands up there. Walter, Rhonda. I missed a hand. I don't think I have. Oh, there's you. No. Okay, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives report entitled Application for County Official Plan Amendment number 194 by 2516459 Ontario Limited, affecting lands described as part of lots 7 and 8, concession 5, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 4282, line 39, Perth East, dated November 17, 2020. prepared by the consulting planner on behalf of County of Perth for information. And the County of Perth, that the Council of the County of Perth approve the application for official plan amendment 194 by 2516459 Ontario Limited, affecting lands described as parts of lots 7 and 8, Section 5, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 4282, line 39, Perth East, and bylaw number 3787, 2020 be passed, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 194 to the County of Perth official plan. And there was a schedule attached, Schedule H. Any more questions or comments with regards to that? I'm not seeing any. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Agate, seconded by Councillor Hurley. I'm having trouble seeing Councillor McDermott because he's on his phone and it's quite small. Anyway, I have a mover and a seconder. Last chance for questions. Not seeing any. Those in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to
Thank you, Warden.
economic development. A question by somebody there? Did I hear something?
It's just Evan saying thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Evan. Sorry, I actually missed Evan. Okay, we're going to move on to economic. So we're going to go through economic development and corporate services. And I think then we'll take a short break. And it's going to be time to stretch here for a minute, and then we'll finish up the meeting after that. We're going to do economic development first. And we have the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund update, and I believe Justin's doing that. Yes, there he is.
Yes, good morning. Can everyone hear me? Great, thank you. So good morning, Warden, agents, and members of County Council. So included in your package is our information report on our activities to date funded through our Regional Relief and Recovery Fund grant. When we first brought forward a report to Council on spending this funding through back in the summer of this year, we presented a plan to spend the whole $153,000 by the end of the year, December 31st, which had been the deadline originally set by FedDev Ontario through the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario. And as you recall, this included a three-phase approach with first focusing on hyperlocal, then on welcoming neighboring regions, and finally a province-wide initiative to promote inter-provincial travel. Our plan at that time was to bring a report to Council at the end of the funding at December 31st, around that time, to share the impact of the funding on our local businesses. But given a recent change from our funders and the funding deadline, I thought it important to bring a report to Council about that change at this time. So in the report, there's a summary of activities we've carried out to date using the RRF funds, as well as some of the impacts that those funds have had on our local tourism businesses. They range from direct business support in the case of some of the recovery kits that we provided, to more of the shop local, boosting customer confidence through our most recent campaign, Take the Pledge, and some of those other shop local campaigns. So again, as over the past month and a half proceeding this report, the situation has obviously changed across the province, as has our direction from our funders. There's been growing hesitancy around promoting tourism at a time when case counts are rising across the province, and even discouraging people to leave areas of high transmission rates of COVID to come to areas of lesser transmission. So with that being said, our funder has provided some direction in terms of discouraging those types of initiatives, encouraging travel, as well as canceling campaigns where possible that would encourage people to leave hotspots to come to areas such as Perth County. So given the sudden change direction, FedDev has extended our deadline to spend the funds to February 28th, 2021. The extended deadline has allowed us to reevaluate our planned initiatives, ensure that they are responsible given the current COVID conditions, and double down on our hyperlocal and shop local campaigns. This will be critical, especially during this Christmas season, as well into the month of January and February, where we know retailers are generally slower and could use that extra boost. So while the funding deadline does, we do feel that it provides some opportunity to really support our businesses into that new year and not have all the funds spent by December 31st. So given that extension, we would anticipate that the final report to County Council would come forward in conjunction with the report that we delivered to Tayo and FedDev on the total impact of the funding at the end of February. So again, I just wanted to provide council with that update about how we plan to spend the money, as well as the extended deadline, and that the report that we had originally planned to deliver at the end of this month about the total impact of the funds will actually be delivered at the end of February.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Questions for Justin on that report? Comments? Not seeing any hands up there.
Make a quick.
Rhonda?
I just thank Justin and all his committee for all the great work that they are doing in the community. The businesses are certainly appreciating everything that is being done to help them. And I think I'm hoping that we don't go into the zone again where we're going to have to shut them down, but I know that you guys will pivot again and help out as much as you can. And we can't thank economic development enough for what they've done. So thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Yeah, it's been quite a ride. We've done a lot of changing, even if we do get into red zone and we end up or even into a lockdown, God forbid. There have been a ton of businesses got put online in the county, especially with our last employee that's been brought online. So anybody that was having more difficulties, getting a web presence or whatever, they're working with them, and I know it's from the comments I've had made to me, it's working very well. So
yeah.
Anyway, thanks Justin and staff. So I have a motion here. Perth County receives TIAO Regional Relief and Recovery Fund Update Report for information. Moved by Councillor McDermott, I believe. I think his name, yeah. And second by Councillor Wilhelm. Last chance for questions or comments. Not seeing any. Those in favor? Carry. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Opportunity Lives Here report. And I believe, is Corey going to do that or Justin? Justin.
Yeah.
Yes, that'll be me as well.
Take your way, Justin.
Great, thank you, Warden Nation members of council. So this report provides some information on the Opportunity Lives Here website, which is a partnership between the county, Stratford, and St. Mary's that has been in place since 2015. The partnership was born out of a recommendation of the Labour Market Implementation Task Force to address the common challenges of workforce across the region. Site has served as a vehicle for local employers to post local jobs, searchable business directory, as well as a source of resident and workforce attraction resources. The site and the OLH brand is promoted by the county and its partners when they are attending job fairs and other recruitment events across the region. Since 2015, Perth County has been the administrator of the site, with the other partners providing annual membership contributions to support it. As administrator, the county has been responsible for paying the invoices, dealing with technical support calls, all the service fees, as well as implementing any of the security patches as required. So in addition to the direct costs, the administrator role also involves providing one-on-one support to businesses who have issues, technical support. We're really the first line of defense when somebody's having challenges with the website or wanting to update information. And then we also liaise with the website provider if it's not something we can provide support to. So through discussions, our current web agreement is actually coming to a close, and through discussion with the partners, St. Mary's has expressed a willingness to take on the admin role starting in 2021. So as indicated, there would be a shift from our role in terms of a $5,000 in-kind contribution we currently provide through staff time and administrative support to the website and the affiliated social media. Instead of being an in-kind contributor, we would now become a contributor in terms of the funds. So that's where I noted in the financial section. We were also anticipating this would use the additional capacity that we gained through not having to deal with those admin type calls and technical support to re-employ our resources to do some other stuff, especially given COVID recovery. We'd rather be focused again on dealing with COVID recovery as opposed to website administration. We also currently manage a number of other websites and social media across the county as well. So the report is there for your information, and there's two recommendations. One is to receive for information, and the other is to proceed with the transfer of the administration for the website for 2021 to St. Mary's to coincide with our website renewal agreement.
Thanks, Justin. So comments and questions. I see Councillor Wilhelm's got a hand up.
Yes, as I recall, when this first was started, the reason Perth County took on its role was that they wanted to ensure, the councillors at the time wanted to ensure that the leads were distributed properly.
Sorry, so in regards to the leads being
that come in from outside the area.
Yeah, so through the Warden, this the website Opportunity Lives Here is primarily for our workforce development and our job posting. So this website is primarily just for posting jobs, for having a business directory, as well as resident attraction, separate from our investment attraction activities, which we conduct through our partnership in so much. That's a separate membership with a separate website and structure.
Okay, any other questions or comments? No, I'm not seeing any hands. I don't think you've got a hand up. Okay, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the Opportunity Lives Here website administration report for information, and the staff be directed to transfer administrative responsibilities for Opportunity Lives Here to the town of St. Mary's. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Agates, second by Councillor Eit. Any further comments or questions? Those in favor? She's carried. Thank you. We're done that one. We're going to move on. Thanks, Justin. Okay, corporate services. Corey. And when we get done with corporate services, we are going to take a break for a couple minutes. 5 anyway. Is Corey coming? There's Corey coming.
He's there. Yeah. There we go.
Yep. Corey, we got you?
Yes, I think you do.
Perfect.
Thank you, Warden.
3.1.
Yes, thank you, Warden Aitchison and Council. In front of you, you have the execution of the loan guarantee. Remember back in May, we intended to provide a guarantee for about $1 million to SWIFT to ensure that they have a credit facility in place to do phase 3 of the SWIFT project. The report is there. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Questions on regarding the SWIFT report, Councillor Hurley?
Yeah, great. Thank you. It's no secret. I appreciate our MPP there. He brought up to Starlink Canada there, involved with Elon Musk, and how fast this is moving. There is some unique stuff coming. And the way we are going to be getting data going forward is going to be pretty interesting and affordable and available. It's looking good. It's looking real good. A lot has changed. And I just want to put that out there so we're aware here, because everything we think we're doing, times change, and it's huge and it's coming quick. It's really neat. I have friends signed up for it and it's looking good. It's promising. And I just needed to put that out there that, hey, times are changing again.
Okay, anybody else with comments or questions? Councillor Kassenberg, anything to add to that? You're on the SWIFT board. Nothing to add?
No, I mean, this is a straightforward request previously seen by County Council. All of the municipalities that contribute to SWIFT and our partners with SWIFT have been asked for this facility just for the sake of managing potential cash flow and obligations of SWIFT and the timing against the contribution agreement with the province and the federal government. So I think that this is mostly an administrative process to make sure that SWIFT doesn't default while it's waiting for funds from senior levels of government.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my take on the last meeting I had with Western Ontario Wardens was this is kind of to be put in place as an interim deal until the funding does, because it doesn't always roll through as fast as they promised, but it is been promised. I think they have that in writing. Anyway, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the Southwest Integrated Fiber Technology Inc. SWIFT Loan Guarantee Execution Report for information. And the Perth County Council approved bylaw 3788 2020 to authorize the warden and clerk to execute the loan guarantee. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor McDermott, I believe his hand's up there, isn't it? Did I see that right? Okay, so mover and seconder. Any last chance for comment or discussion? Seeing none. Those in favor of that motion? That's carried. Okay. Corey, Q3 variance 7.3.2.
Thank you, Warden Aitchison. Members of council, in front of you is the Q3 variance and year projections for 2020. Noted that we're looking at a surplus of about $216,000. COVID has impacted Perth County. Within the report, you'll notice that the only reason we had $216,000 of surplus is that we're utilizing about $1.55 million in additional expenses related to COVID-19. And those are funding from the provincial government. There's two pots essentially. One is a Safe Restart phase 1 pot, as well as paramedic services getting a different pot of about $77 million to be allocated to paramedic services, different services within the province of Ontario. Through there, you'll note that of the 216,000, majority of the surplus is made up in economic development and tourism. They were able to solidify significant funding to help them within COVID-19, specifically Tourism Ministry Association of Ontario, providing them about $153,000 in funding. Because of that, they're unable to essentially do projects that are within their 2020 budget, therefore identifying a surplus in that area. Overall, we're looking at a relatively mild November. We don't know what December is going to be looking at, but we're showing about a 13% under budget within our winter maintenance program, which is about a $566,000. With that, about $86,000 surplus in the general maintenance side of things, to recommend that about $652,000 be moved back into the winter maintenance reserve to shore up that reserve to see a harsh winter potentially. So the reserve in 2020 will have about a balance of $850,000. If there's any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Corey. Questions? I see Councillor Wilhelm's hand up there.
Yes, thanks, Corey. It's great to have a good news report come from you. I don't have a problem with putting the money into winter maintenance. I do have a problem putting the $216,000 into the levy stabilization. I think it's high enough at 1.16 million, and I think maybe the lower tiers are going to have a challenging year in 2021, and I think we should use that $216,000 to reduce the levy.
Other comments or questions? None? Don't think he used his hand up. I'm not seeing any hands up, so Rhonda, Walter, questions, comments? Okay, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the Q3 variance with year-end projections report for information. Moved by Councilor Duncan, seconded by Councilor Wilhelm. Those in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Corey.
No problem.
Before we move into Public Works, we're gonna take I'm gonna say a 10-minute break. Give people a chance to stretch and use the washroom or whatever.
Through the warden, just be cognizant of your mics. Please keep them muted. The live stream is going to continue as we go through this. So just make sure your mics are muted through this time.
Right, I'll be muted here.
Okay, so if I could ask counselors to hit their video mutes and whatnot, we're back live and we're gonna reconvene the meeting.
Here they go.
Coming in one at a time.
Yeah.
I hope Hugh gets back in.
Well, he
Hey,
should
oh,
still
there
be
he is.
Yep, we're good. Perfect. Got everybody back. Thank you. Okay, Public Works. And we have a designated through highways bylaw update, and I believe Bill Wilson's doing that. Or is John doing that?
Good morning, Council. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, first of all, if you don't mind, just given that today's election proceedings were a little different, I might just take the opportunity and on behalf of the Public Works Department, congratulate Warden Aitchison and Deputy Warden Rhonda Agates in their election for 2021, and certainly for their leadership and support of staff in 2020. It certainly has been a challenging year for all of us, but I think as a corporation, we've really been able to accomplish a great deal. And that certainly doesn't happen without the support of the warden, deputy warden, and all of council. So a big thank you. And to the order of business here, through you, Warden Aitchison, our first report is a housekeeping item. And I'd just like to thank Bill Wilson for writing both reports here today. And unfortunately, he sends his regrets he could not make it to the meeting. When staff were preparing reports for the Always Stop at Perth Line 26 and Perth Road 113, as well as the Wayland Line upload, we needed to amend bylaw 2956, which is designating through highways. When reviewing Schedule A of that bylaw, we noticed that the 2013 asset exchange of line 36 and line 37 with the Township of Perth East was not accounted for. And so staff are requesting council's authorization to amend that bylaw to accurately reflect the county's road network. And I'd be happy to answer any questions with the report.
Okay, questions for John McClellan from council? Not seeing any hands. Okay, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the designating through highways bylaw update report for information, and the Perth County Council authorized Schedule A of bylaw 2956 by removing Perth Line 37 and adding Perth Line 36 from the City of Stratford limits to Perth Road 135. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Okay, last chance for comment or question. Those in favor? Carried. Moving on, we're done with that. We're going to move on. And the next one is the tender results. John, you're doing that, I guess?
Yes, thank you. Through you, your worship. Next report is the tender results for the purchase of a tandem axle cab and chassis. Back in early November, council authorized pre-budget approval to tender for a tandem axle plow scheduled for replacement in 2021. This tender was issued jointly with the municipality of West Perth and the Township of Perth South. And the county, they were also purchasing similar units, and the county is the lead on this joint procurement. 5 tender submissions were received, and the purchasing group reviewed conformance and specifications and are recommending the low bid from All Truck International Truck Centers. Each unit will cost $142,580 plus HST. As well, we requested a provisional item for extended warranty. And that extended warranty is in addition to the standard warranty that comes with the particular unit. Well, the standard warranty covers some of the major components. The extended warranty provides a more comprehensive coverage of parts and repairs that would otherwise negatively affect our operating budget for that unit. One of the more important factors with that extended coverage is the exhaust after treatment system. And we are recommending a 5-year comprehensive warranty, which is approximately $5,000 US. We had budgeted $320,000 for the tandem plow replacement. When we combine that, the chassis with the cost of the box and plow equipment, the total purchase price is going to be approximately $321,000. The extended warranty would further increase that capital cost. For your reference, the same unit was purchased 2 years ago, and that was at a cost of $312,000. Council should note that the recommendation includes the purchase of all 3 units, and the county does reserve the right to reduce tender quantities should the other participating partners not choose to purchase their units. And each purchasing partner will confirm their purchase through a separate recommendation supported by their particular councils. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for John? Councillor Wilhelm?
Well, I discussed this with John. He knows, and most people know that International is not my preferred vendor. However, they did come in with a good price, and the county's had good luck with the ones they are currently operating. I would certainly agree with John that you should go with the extended warranties on the motor and electronics and after exhaust. I don't believe you need to buy all of the warranties that are offered, i.e. alternator, etc. But I think it's money invested wisely, and I think that $7,500 or thereabouts is an appropriate price. Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor Hurlick?
Oh, thanks there, John. Yeah, I kind of echo there with Councillor Wilhelm. International has had a rough go, and they're doing some hard rebounding, and they're fighting for market share right now. And they're doing a good job. I hear real good things about International lately, and they are doing what they can to keep their foot in the door. And I think this is going to be a good move, and they're going to be working with us because they want market share. They need it, and I think we'll be okay. This is a good move with the after treatment, because that stuff can haunt you and get really expensive. And as much, we might be a little bit of a guinea pig here, but maybe it's a good move. So we know in the future how these extended warranties work for sure when time to come. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Don't see any. Just a quick question, John. So these are Canadian dollar figures, but basically it's all based on a US purchase price, correct?
Through you, Warden Aitchison, we received the tender quotes in Canadian dollars. However, the extended warranty, the documentation that we received for that is in US dollars.
Okay, because it looks like the Canadian dollar is rising.
Yeah. And the one thing with that extended warranty and with the warranty, that standard warranty that does come with the unit, those warranties, like it takes approximately a year or better to get these units delivered to us. Once we purchase the chassis, it's built, that gets to the bodybuilder. It's well over a year. This is why we are doing this at this stage in the game and asking for pre-approval, just the length of time that these units take to get built. So that warranty does not start until we receive the unit.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but the dollar's gained a couple of cents or more in the last less than a month. So they continued on that path, and I was wondering if there'd be some savings on these prices. Anyway, that was just kind of the point I was making. So I have a motion here.
Hello?
That Perth County Council receives the tender results, tandem axle cab and chassis reports for information. And the Perth County Award Tender 2020-033-037 for the supply of 3 tandem axle and chassis to all truck international truck centers. for the total tendered price of $427,740, excluding HST. And Perth County Council include the provisional extended warranty item with their purchase for an additional cost of approximately $5,000, excluding HST. Mover, Councillor McKenzie, seconder, Councillor McDermott. I missed him the last time. That, you good with that, you? He's froze.
Yeah, I think he's froze.
I think Councillor McDermott is froze up.
No, no,
No, he's no.
Okay, anyway.
Yep, there's
There you
that
go.
one.
Yeah,
He was froze for a bit.
Yeah, he's getting a delay.
He's getting a delay. Anyway, so it's moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor McDermott. You've heard the motion. Those in favor of that motion? That's carried.
That's good.
Okay. We're done with that. We're going to move on again. So next we have council reports. Any council reports up there? Not seeing any hands. Now we have bylaws. So I'll start with bylaw 3780-2020 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this third day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Ike, second by Councillor Duncan. Those in favor? Carried. And then we're going to move on to 3784, and this is dealing with the mutual aid agreement. So it's bylaw 3784-2020. Be ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed this third day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? Carried. The next one I don't need because it was deferred. And okay, so the next one is dealing with the Designated Through Highway Act. And it is bylaw 3786-2020 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this third day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Agus, second by Councillor Kellum. Those in favor? It's carried. Okay, the next one is the bylaw with the OPA for the property in Perth East, I believe, 194. So that bylaw 3787-2020 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this third day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Agus. Those in favor? Carried. And then the next one is the agreement for SWIFT. And it is bylaw 3788-2020 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this third day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Kazenberg, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? That's carried. So we're going to move on from bylaws. And we got all of those. Next, we have notice of motions. And we have one that was already here, and there's been a second one added. So, Councillor Hurdick, you have one here. I'll let you speak to yours first.
Hey there, good. You guys can hear me good. Hopefully the internet holds up here. No, it's interesting. I got to take myself back here. You guys can hear me there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my computer just blanked everything out here. First all day. No, and it's coming together here, and I take myself back 2 weeks there, and on the way home and talking with my wife when I got home with the motion that Todd had brought up there, Councillor Kassenberg, and I found myself instantly thinking of the relationships I have, my family business, myself partaking in multicultural festival a couple years ago over in London at the Sun Fest. It was quite unique, and how to handle this. And it's an amazing time. It's, you know, you're united as one. And my head was instantly spinning. And I think it was by the end of the day, I had reached out to Rhonda, and by the end of the weekend, I knew where I wanted to go with this. And my wife thought it was amazing too. She said, yeah, it's beautiful. And what I'm proposing, I think a multiculturalism celebration month within Perth County. And I had to check in and see, and it's in June. And I believe the actual date itself, I had a look, is the 27th. So yeah, you know, I'm going to propose here that we have a multiculturalism celebration month. And within that, you know, we can have staff continue their efforts with our local school boards, consultants, specialists around race, racism, potentials of systemic racism, and to explain to us. But yeah, I like the idea of a multiculturalism celebration month. I find myself eating a lot of different foods all the time, and the people in my community. So I'm gonna put out there what I got chalked up here, and we'll see what you think, and we'll go from there. So this is what I got: multiculturation celebration month. That would consist of showcasing the diverse presence in Perth County, including residents from around the world that work, own, support our towns, shops, stores, farms, industries. The proposed month would be June, to correspond with Multiculturalism Day in Canada, which is the 27th. And we would dedicate staff to work with tourism, social media, and profile showcasing origins of the stories, the diverse cultures of Perth County residents under a common what we want to say, tagline for the month. Residents would be encouraged to contribute their own origin of stories, culture, music through a variety of means, which include sharing of recipes, just what they're about, where they're from. And I think this is a good move. And I don't know, I hope others of council can see where I'm coming at with this. And yeah, Todd brought that up, and it instantly had me spinning, because we want to be inclusive. We want to recognize if there are some issues. And I think we just bring it through council and keep us into date. This is a real good opportunity for us all. And Todd for sure brought some good points to the table there. And yeah, what do you think? That's where I'm at. I'm willing to get.
Stop you there, Daryl. Technically, you're only supposed to really read your notice of motion, but that's fine what you did.
Yeah. Hey, and this is what I wanted to
Put that
do.
on the screen so I could actually see more faces again. Would be nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we did have a second notice of motion sent in, and it didn't quite get in the package, but it was here on time, I'm told. So I don't actually have that in front of me. I think that was from Councillor Wilhelm.
It'll go up.
So if I let Councillor Wilhelm
There it is.
encompass what he's talking about.
Okay, thank you. Under economic development, I believe that in their strategic plan workflow, there's a plan to develop a charter for Perth County that would include welcoming newcomers, anti-racism, and inclusivity for all. So further complementing Councillor Herlich's notice of motion, I would like to bring a notice of motion that staff bring forward a report on a county charter. Thank you.
Okay. We could go back to the screen. So we have two notices of motion. Normally, we would deal with them 2 weeks from today, because that's what basically the normal requirement is. But however, there is the ability to deal with this today if we have a resolution to move and second to deal with it today, and it actually contributes your bylaw. So you need 2/3 majority.
To waive the rules.
Pardon me?
To waive the rules.
To waive the rule and have this discussion today instead of have it wait 2 weeks. Is there any interest in doing that? Councillor Herlich? Are you making that a motion? We do that?
Hey, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wilhelm, are you seconding that? Yeah. Okay, so we have to have 2/3 majority to do that, to waive that bylaw, to do the discussion today. Can I see who's in favor of that motion? Okay, everyone but Councillor Kazenberg, so it passes. We got 2/3. Okay, so we want to go back to the first notice of motion, or do we want to incorporate the discussion on the two of them together? Councillor Hurlick.
Hey, no, I of course took in what Councillor Wilhelm had there as well, and I'm suspecting we can put this together. Yeah, for sure. I apologize for getting into it there. This stuff always uniques me, and yeah, but no, I think we can make this one for sure.
Okay, comments from other members of council. Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, I think that I would prefer them separate, just because I believe staff's already been working on my on the background on the motion that I brought forward. They've been working on different items for most of this year, which would bring resources that they could use and background information. So I think that they could bring a report sooner on that, on my notice of motion, than the research to start over with Councillor Hurlick's. And that's the only reason why I suggest that they be separated. I think my notice of motion could be moved forward fairly quickly.
Other comments from councillors up there? Doug Ait.
So Daryl's motion, or Daryl's notice of motion, would it be handled by economic development or somebody like that? They're always into promoting, and I think that Bob's motion, or his notice of motion, would be more staff writing the report and getting it out either December the 17th or January, maybe I don't know what day we meet, second Monday in January, or second Thursday, because we have an extra week off. So is that what we're thinking? Like one now and then one, we got a plan for Daryl's, which is it might involve I forget the guy's name from Culture, Giza, I believe, and some other organizations like Optimist and that too. Like, is it going to be a county-wide Daryl function?
Okay, I'm just asking Lori. So
Thank you. Through the warden. So what would happen is Councillor Hurlick's motion would be administered. If that's approved, it would go over to economic development and they would take it from there. And Councillor Wilhelm's notice of motion, if council approves that direction, that we would proceed to assign that to economic development as well. They'd write the report and they would bring that back as part of their regular work plan. We do, it fits nicely in with the language in our strategic plan that supports that type of work in diversity and newcomers activities. So that's where that would go.
okay, so that would involve you and your office and EDC.
Yes,
well.
yes.
And that report would come back by approximately?
So through the warden, the report coming from economic development, I would think it probably would come very early in January, given reports are due next week for the second meeting in December. So I'm going to say the early in January.
Okay, Councillor Kasberg has his hand up.
Thank you. I would have preferred the 2-week opportunity to consider the implications of Councillor Wilhelm's resolution. However, in general terms, at this point in time, I agree with the sentiment as a next step to move forward on having a charter established amongst other actions, and I hope that we'll consider other actions. I think the difficulty that county staff will have to consider is the fact that an action of this nature really does require participation from those who have lived experience and who have commitment and understanding of racism, of inclusivity challenges and diversity challenges. And so there is a hesitation that I have and a concern that our staff may not fully represent the views and understandings of those in our county who live with these daily and ongoing challenges to inclusion in our community. With regards to Councillor Herlich's motion, my simple query is this: have we considered whether our multiculturalism association actually wants this kind of action? I'm not convinced that that consultation has happened, and so we should perhaps diagnose before we prescribe solutions. I would feel a lot more comfortable if the proposal had come from that community. And I'm not sure that we should take action at this point on that until we've had the chance to consult with those who would be involved in various ways in determining whether this is a good idea for us, whether this is a suitable and sufficient idea, and whether we should proceed to commit resources in this way, given that there are other bigger challenges.
Need 2/3 to, if you want to deal with it today or have it come back as a notice.
Yeah, we're gonna do that in a second. So just further, any other comments, first of all? I'm not seeing any. So we have had the vote to deal with this today. So now we can have a vote to deal with each notice of motion, but it will still require 2/3 majority to pass?
No, just, you've already done your 2/3 vote.
Okay, so now it's just we deal with each one individually?
Yes.
I wasn't sure if it still required 2/3 or not, because we're getting into the technical terms here now. Okay, so we have a notice of motion on the floor from Daryl. Everybody's heard him. Daryl's gonna move that, so do I have a seconder? Councillor Agates. Discussions or comments on that notice of motion? Daryl?
Yeah, again, and I'll bring forward why this isn't that we're trying to trump anybody out. Of course, we're going to continue to work with multiculturalism and all those unique groups that are in our community. And again, I just know that the acceptance in our bigger centers, it's beautiful, really. Like I said there, I was over in London there. It's about 3-4 years ago now. And it's good, just wholesome, united as one. And yeah, it's gangbusters, you know. I think it would go so good. And it's unique how we can move forward and work and realize the continuous struggles, build it all in. But yeah, I'm convinced and I feel comfortable that this is a good step and I like it. But hey, let's open the floor.
Todd, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'd like to amend this motion at this point. My purpose in making this amendment is that we refer this to staff to have consultations with appropriate multicultural stakeholders before considering this fully by council.
Can we amend the notice of motion?
That's a referral motion and it's no longer a notice of motion. It's a resolution, so it can be referred.
Okay,
That's what this is, a referral motion.
Deferred.
It's a referral motion to staff with direction.
Okay, so we can do a referral motion to staff.
Yes.
But we actually have that first and seconded. So technically we have to deal with that. Or do we could ask for the first and the seconder? No?
So through the board, a referral motion is proper at any moment. So it's moved, it's seconded. It can now, you have a motion or you have a mover to refer it to staff with direction.
Okay, so now I have a motion to refer it to staff with direction.
Right.
But do I need a seconder for that as well?
Yes.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Duncan. Okay, any further comments or questions? Yeah, we're getting into the more technical terms here, the stuff I don't normally deal with.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's why we have good staff. So the second motion would be dealt with first ahead of the first one.
The referral motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or it trumps the other.
Through the warden, so you have a referral motion moved and seconded, and it's to refer the matter back to staff with direction. Staff will bring it back.
Okay, so they'll
with,
bring it back with the other and do a report on whether.
They'll do a
are
report.
Interested in.
That's right.
Okay, so basically what the referral is going to do is consultation with the other
Yes.
groups to make sure that there is interest for doing this, et cetera, and you'll bring back a report to staff.
Through the warden, yes, and that would be appropriate because it allows us time to be able to address the issue of proclamation, because that's actually what you're actually doing when you proclaim a month, and we'd want to double check that with the procedure bylaw.
Okay.
So that'd be good.
Everybody hear Lori's explanation, Councillor Wilhelm?
Yeah.
So we're discussing the first notice of motion, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And only the first one.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to defer it to staff to bring back a report to deal with that notice of motion. Those in favor of that motion? That's carried.
Great.
Pretty well unanimously. Okay, so we've dealt with the first notice of motion. Now we're moving on to the second notice of motion. And Bob has made a notice motion to send this back to staff to deal with the issues and have a report come back. And in that report, would that include, just asking, best ways to move forward, who might all be involved, like from outside of people of more expert opinion or expertise in the matter?
Yes, through the warden, how staff would propose to accomplish this.
Okay, so everybody, so this report comes back would be how staff proposes we deal with this matter, and that should come back hopefully in January.
Yes, through the warden, we would make it a priority to come back early January.
Okay. So is anybody not sure of what we're going to vote on here? So I need a mover and a seconder. I'm assuming Bob Wilhelm's going to be the mover, Councillor Wilhelm. Do I have a seconder? That would be Councillor Hurley. Any more comments or questions regarding the second notice of motion? Councillor Kazenberg.
I, for the lack of, or, for the sake of making sure I'm not repetitive, but I want to make it clear, I would urge the staff to consider the fact that at this point, this council is not particularly diverse in its racial composition, and that in considering how we move forward, it is extremely important that we consult those who have lived experience and who represent that diversity that frankly we and the staff don't tend to represent.
Yeah, I think I kind of said that we should perhaps deal with people outside of our entity, whether that be public or experts or whoever, right? Okay, so I have that motion on the floor, and do you want to make another comment, Daryl? Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is good direction for sure. And and I'll just bring to the table here, I am a community man and I am involved with a lot of different people and cultures, races, and it's good. And this is good direction, and this is nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other people up there that want to make a comment? Let's see, he's in a small picture there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion that's been moved and seconded.
Yes.
Those in favor of that motion? That would be unanimous. It would be. So we've dealt with that. Other business. Does anybody have any other business to bring up? Not seeing any note there. Announcements. Not seeing any hands go up. I just got one quick thing to point out. Some of the ones are on the meeting Monday night. So as you were aware, Spruce Lodge was declared to be in an active outbreak, and that is our long-term care facility for the municipality. I got an email from Peter Bolland on Monday. All the testing has been done on all the residents there, and they were all negative. All the staff was retested, including the one that was supposedly positive, and everything came back negative. So even though there's still a long declared outbreak there, the testing has come back as of the beginning of the week is all negative. No, may that change? Hopefully not, but it's subject to change. I'm just giving you that report because that is your long-term care facility. And I know when people heard that, they got pretty excited. Okay, so there's no announcements. Closed session, I don't believe we have one. Okay, so now I need a motion that the bylaw 3789/2020 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the county of Perth at its regular meeting held December 3rd, 2020 is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed December 3rd, 2020. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Ike. Those in favor? Passed. And the last resolution for the day. Council meeting be adjourned at 12:01. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Kellum. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Sorry for the technical challenges every once in a while, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Have a good day, everyone.